Yep, us crazy green divas are still here.
Reinventing ourselves yet again.
Now we're streaming live on Facebook and YouTube.
You can find our videos and podcasts on all the usual places.
Still sharing low-stress ways
of living a deeper shade of green.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the new Green Divas Show. I'm Green Diva Meg.
And I'm Green Diva Lisa.
And we're coming to you, well, almost live from GD Ponderosa Studios, Studio B.
Yes. So all the last couple of shows were in the live room, and now we're in Studio B, which is probably where we'll live for a while.
Yeah. This is the podcast studio, voiceover, audiobook. We do a lot of the voice work in here.
Mm-hmm.
Yay. So
this week we're going to talk about.
So Meg's losing it. Anyway,
this week we're going to say goodbye to 2020.
A fond,
bye-bye.
If not, whatever, farewell. Although, I don't want to be totally negative. There were good things that came out of 2020, but we're looking forward. We decided we would do an episode looking forward to the future, not just this year, but into the future with hope, and focus on some of the innovation, some of the young folks that are doing amazing things.
I know, ways that we can reimagine the future, because we really have to do that fast.
I think so.
There's an urgency, and there's some really cool things going on that we're going to share with you.
Yes. So, and then Lisa's got a Companies We Dig segment.
This week I'm going to talk about my favorite shoes in the whole wide world, company called Allbirds. And they are the most scrumptious things you'll ever put on your feet. And we'll talk about that later.
I'm going to have to get me some of them.
Oh, yeah, you are.
So before we launch into all the fun things we have going on, including a GD book report.
It's winter time, good time for reading.
Yeah, it really is. And while we're semi-locked down and being more careful. But before we get to all that, I just wanted to thank our new subscribers. And we got quite a few in the last couple of weeks. Thank you.
We have.
And thank you for listening and tuning us in and watching us and interacting with us.
And sharing.
So really, we're all in all of the usual places for social media and where you get your podcasts, and the video, of course, on YouTube. Go ahead.
And you can ask your smart speaker to stream us or play the podcast. Either one, you've got a choice.
So usually if you just search The Green Divas, you'll find us, and it's at The Green Divas on like Twitter and Instagram. Or you can go to our website, The Green Divas.
That's THE, greendivas.com.
Yeah, we've been doing this for a while, I guess. So let's get to our awesome book report.
Please. Oh, my goodness.
Inspired in part by Green Diva Max, who we have done the 50 Shades of Green Diva show. That's Green Diva Max and I, the show that we started a few years ago. But Green Diva Ellie, who's part of that, and a couple of other women. GD Max sent out an email, said, we all need to read this book. It's called All We Can Save. And it's a beautiful book of green divas, powerful green divas who have written essays and poems
and artwork. And it's just a beautiful collection.
And these are all women who are on the front lines. And, we have.
Oh,
right
shame
here.
on me.
La, 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 la.
So it's edited by Dr. Ayanna Elizabeth Johnson and Catherine K. Wilkinson.
And a couple of the Green Divas that we've talked to on more than one occasion, Catherine Hayhoe and Marianne Hitt, are in there. There's a lot of really and maybe in the next edition, we'll get in there.
Right.
Just saying.
In any case, it's very inspiring. We highly recommend it.
And we're going to have a little book club. I think we're going to start our own little Green Diva book club. If you're interested, let us know, because I think we are actually going to do something. like that.
I think so.
And this is our first book. It's your first assignment. Do it.
And the other book, which I'm going to make everybody read, if gosh darn it, if I can.
I don't need to. You've told me enough about it, really.
I don't know, Meg, I don't know. Anyway, it was written in 1975. It's called Ecotopia by Ernest Kallenbach. And I read it back when it first came out, and I reread it not that long ago, and I was surprised at how well it stood up over the years. And it's basically about Northern California, Washington, and Oregon seceding from the Union and inviting a New York journalist 10 years later to come and write about it and what he experiences. And the most significant part about it is the cultural change that everybody made that are the kinds of things those are the kinds of changes we could make. And basically, those changes are all about everything you do is decided by what impact it has on
Right. Right.
and for future generations as well. Speaking of future generations,
Yes. The Good Ancestor, a radical prescription for long-term thinking. Lisa found this book, which we both are going to read. It's on our list. By Roman Kznarek. Wow. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, it's all about how we can move from our pathological short-termness, which is how we're thinking. And
Right now, I want it now.
Some of the ancient cultures, including Native American culture, make their decisions based on 7 generations ahead, or some other time in the future of future generations. Which, if everything we do is done with them in mind, we're going to make good decisions, and we can make change fast.
Yes. So that's...
Speaking of next generation.
Well, yeah. Then we have How to Talk to Your Kids About Climate Change by our favorite Green Diva climate mama, Harriet Sugarman, who is on the show with us frequently, and can't wait to get her up here.
I know. We haven't seen her in a while. It's time. It's time for a Harriet Fix.
But this book is doing really well, and I haven't read it yet. True confession. Sorry, Harriet. But... But I will read it soon, and I just know, based on having known her for all these years and the work that she's done.
And the last book for today is American Harvest, God, Country, and Farming by Marie Matuki Mockett. And I am so enthralled with this book and the way she writes and her observations. She is taking over her family farm. She inherited, it's a 100-year-old farm with 7,000 acres of wheat. And she's invited by the crew that has done the cutting of the wheat every year to travel the whole cruise season from Texas to Idaho. And she chooses to do that. And they are all Anabaptists or Mennonites. And so there's evangelical Christians. So she explores their world and the way that they look through things. She explores the farmers that she meets along the way. And there's this dichotomy of she's Japanese American, so she doesn't quite fit in. So that's something that she explores. She's used to it, and she's a city girl. And she's, sort of learning how to look through the eyes of rural people as well. It's brilliantly written.
And clearly, I will also have to read this. So I've got my work cut out for me. But I'm a quick reader, so I'm good with that. So thank you, Lisa. Lisa really did the homework on finding all those books. The next segment, we're going to talk about The Kids Are All Right. That's what I named it. But it's really about these amazing kids around the world that are showing us how to step up and make things happen. Everybody knows Greta Thunberg. And so, Greta has inspired all kinds of youth and adults
like Jane.
Jane Fonda. So she started the Fridays for Future, which is her. She strikes school.
Yeah, she started all by herself. Just went and sat in front of these corporations, and then the rest is history.
So there was Juliana versus the U.S. government, a group of kids that were suing the U.S. government because they were screwing up their future. And honestly, I didn't look, and I should have looked further into what stage they're at with that. I know they've had some setbacks, but I'm sure they're not giving up. And I know that there are similar lawsuits around the world,
Yes,
in Canada and whatnot there. So, yeah, and you have a couple of interesting people
Well,
you put in here.
Autumn Pelletier, Peltier, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
15 years old, is a water protector, and she's been inspiring other young people to protect the waters. She's an Indigenous young woman. Then there's Mary Copenny. Is that how you pronounce it?
Copany.
Copenny.
By
I'm
the
really
way,
terrible.
there's a YouTube video. We'll put it on the website with the blog of Autumn, right?
Right.
I'm gonna
indeed.
include that in our post.
Mary Copenny, aka Little Miss Flint, who tweets every Wednesday, hashtag Wednesdays for Water, which highlights every Wednesday some area, some part of the world, some part of the country that doesn't have clean, fresh water for their citizens. So it's so simple to make that kind of noise, and she's doing it. And then there's Arissa Hirsi, daughter of Representative Ilan Omar. Sorry,
Yep.
they're from Minnesota, and she's been doing social justice, climate activism for quite some time. And she was inspired first by the pipelines in Minnesota, and then she got involved in the water crisis in Flint, Michigan, and she co-founded an organization called U.S. Youth Climate Strike. All of this you can find on our website in a few days.
Yeah, give us a couple days. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so these are just young people doing.
Well, so while we were looking at young people and looking up young people, we stumbled upon young innovators, and there are so many. We've covered some of them over the last couple of years, but there's a couple that Lisa wanted to highlight. Danielle Boyer.
She's a 19-year-old Ojibwe youth from Michigan who she's been teaching for quite some time. She's all about the STEAM program, and she's created this little gizmo that is under $20 that it teaches. Just by building it, you learn about electronics and robotics, and it's cheap enough to make accessible. And that's what she's all about, accessibility to the STEAM program.
That's great.
Particularly in native and rural communities.
I love this guy, David Cohen. He's in Dallas, Texas. While he was learning about earthworms in science class, he wondered if anyone had ever built a robotic earthworm.
I love this.
I know. Anyway, and then he thought, well, what could the applications be? And he started to think about how a robotic earthworm could help find victims after fires, earthquakes, floods. So he built one, and he built the prototype with the code and everything. And, it can be used to squeeze into dangerous places, and it's got all kinds of technology on it. So it's really innovative and a game changer, I think, for some disaster relief.
And then we have Sean Anaya, who he says, I've given myself the challenge to try to innovate the new way we use energy. So he looks at the peak times that citizens use energy and the way right now that energy companies are having to purchase extra energy in order to make those demands. So he's trying to work with both of those concepts to make things more energy efficient.
Well, we sure
and
need that.
while reducing CO2 emissions as well. So yeah, that's our young innovators.
You go, kids. So our next segment is climate innovations, inspired by all these kids. But I, decided to just go look and see what's happening. And one article from globalcitizen.org about 8 crazy innovations that could save the planet had some interesting things. Drones planting trees. A UK-based company called Biocarbon is doing that. And you would think, like, okay, how does a drone plant trees? But apparently it can go a certain height, and It shoots the seeds at such a trajectory that they actually penetrate deep enough. Okay. I'm on board because, boy, according to the World Wildlife Fund, the world loses 18.3 million acres of forest every year.
That's
equivalent
disastrous.
of 27 soccer fields worth of trees every minute. That is really...
That breaks my heart, just hearing that statistic.
I know, stop. Just stop. So the next interesting thing was palm tree wind farms. And these are these gigantic, they're a new style of windmill that is designed to kind of emulate a palm tree.
Move with the wind a little bit.
Well, apparently in all the different fronds because they're gigantic. But the New York Times wrote an article about this. And there's a video that I'm going to share on our post with all the fun stuff.
So if you're not listening to us on the website, it's thegreendivas.com.
So methane is, apparently worse than carbon in many ways because it...
Oh, yeah. We don't talk enough about methane. We talk about CO2 emissions, but methane's a big old bad boy.
Yeah. It's like cow farts, it's bad. But
it's a lot more.
It's a lot more than that. And apparently, the oil and gas industry leaks a lot of methane in their processes of extraction. So beyond cow farts. Anyway, so there's a satellite proposed that will spot methane leaks and enable them to shut it down faster than they have been, and supposedly will reduce that by 50%. But I say reduce it by 100% and just stop freaking, extracting oil and gas.
We're not quite there yet, but we ought to be aiming for that as soon as possible.
Please. This one I love, plastic-eating enzymes. And the funniest part is these team of Japanese researchers accidentally discovered this. But it's magnificent because, it eats plastic in a matter of days rather than what, we've been told it lasts for hundreds of years.
Many hundreds of years.
And here's just another little statistic I'm going to toss out at you. 12 billion metric tons of plastic, 12 billion with a B, will exist in the world by 2050. Now, that's the equivalent of 1.6 metric tons, or the size of a mid-sized car, for every human on the planet. That's that's unacceptable.
Yeah.
Stop it. Stop. So anyway, eat that plastic. And then, one other thing was these pumps to cool down coral reefs. Again, it would be nice if, we could just solve the problem of the heating oceans. But in the meantime, in order to preserve because the heat is what's killing them, it bleaches them.
And just to say that without coral reefs, the ocean dies. And we need our coral reefs for all the marine life.
Yeah, we do. So then the McKinsey report I just stumbled upon had a little bit more technology stuff that really could be game changers for sustainability and, climate. Public transport EVs, meaning all these buses. And China, for instance, 300,000. They have 300,000 electric buses right now. That makes a big difference.
Makes a huge difference. Also written about in Ecotopia.
See?
Public transportation.
See? But, we talk about use more public transit, so use... Anyway, electric commercial trucks, which were not economic before.
Right.
Are now becoming more available and usable and economic for the companies to use. Battery storage, it's not a sexy topic, but let me tell you, for all that we're talking about with EVs all over the place, and solar energy and wind energy, you need to have some kind of battery storage for all that energy.
That's the most important in the future now.
So the first company that comes up with cheap and long-term and, reduced size battery storage is the winner. Plastic recycling. Okay, so I know you think we recycle.
We don't.
The statistics are really upsetting. 260 million tons of plastic waste is generated around the globe every year. much of which ends up in the ocean and on that poor turtle's nose.
Yeah, only somewhere between 10 and 16%
Yeah.
actually gets recycled.
Yeah. So,
And we do talk about the companies that do stuff with that recycling.
yes, we do. And we do want to support that.
But there's way too much still.
So one of the promising new technologies that is coming around is called pryolysis, and it's a circular recycling system that recycles the plastic and then creates on the back end with it this liquid feedstock.
Which is a fuel that runs machinery and that
livestock feed. It's feedstock. They call it feedstock, but it's an additional fuel source, an energy source for
machinery and
for
things
other
like that.
buildings and commercial uses. But it's a way of using it. And anyway, my daughter's working on some. Carly's working on. It's not for plastic recycling, but for some waste.
Yeah, we're gonna have
the same kind of thing.
We're gonna dig into that a little more and let you know what we find out.
I mean, and also accessibility to solar power. That will be a game changer. We're going to do some solar up here someday. Soon. But we've been looking into it, and we're a good candidate. We actually could even put a couple of wind turbines, and we could do geothermal. But
we could do it all if we
had the money.
Well, the good news is solar is become so much more affordable. It just keeps getting more and more affordable all the time.
And then carbon capture and storage, which is also called CCS, is all about industries. It's technology that helps industries capture some of the carbon output that they, the
right
pollution.
At the source.
Right, at the source. And, it's a circular process. And there are technologies coming around that'll help significantly reduce greenhouse gas emissions with capture. And so, yay. So let's talk about your segment, Companies We Dig.
Well, first of all, it's sponsored by Your Arbor. And Your Arbor is a browser extension that goes at the top of your screen. Over on the side, there's a tree icon. And once you sign up for that and you get that browser, they give you a survey. They learn a bit about what your values are. And then they score the companies that you shop with based on your values.
Yeah, so it basically gives you the opportunity to shop in alignment with your values when you shop online. It's great. It's a great tool.
Yeah, they do the vetting for you. But these browser extensions are kind of a new thing. So
more future tech. We're in it, man. We're in it.
So the company that I'm talking about is Allbirds. And I think I mentioned earlier, they're the most scrumptious things you're ever going to put on your feet. They're made with merino wool and sustainably sourced, of course, from New Zealand. And they're meant to wear barefoot, no matter what time of year it is, whenever you can. And the wool is warm, and it's wicking, and it's antibacterial. And
no more funky feet.
No more funky feet. But they go a couple steps further, actually. They recycle bottles. It's one recycled bottle equals one shoelace.
That's so neat.
Yeah. And then they
RPET, which is a recycled bottle, it's like a polyester, only it's made from recycled.
Right. And they use castor bean oil, which helps increase the natural content of their insoles. Lean bean comfort machines.
Lean bean comfort machines. That's cute.
And they use 90% recycled cardboard for all of their packaging and mailing stuff, and because every box deserves a second chance. But I'm telling you, the feeling I have with these wool sneakers on my feet is as scrumptious as serum is on your skin, on your face. I mean, it's just
luscious.
It's very luscious.
Luscious.
So that's my story.
All right. Well, Liv gave us a thumbs up. I think we're good. I got to wrap it up. I just am excited to focus on looking forward and let go of It's been a rough year, really, for me, not as awful as I know it has been for many people who are suffering serious losses. But I'm going to look forward to a future with more optimism.
Mm-hmm. It's time to up our game in terms of reimagining what the future can look like and how we can participate in that change. And self-care is a good place to start as well,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
your good health allows you to do good things for others and the planet.
Yes. So please take care of yourselves. Please be careful out there. Wear a mask. Be considerate of others. And if you can stay home, minimize being out there because, I got like an email from my healthcare provider group saying, please be careful. January is expected to be the worst month ever for this pandemic. I was like, okay.
So while we're thinking about staying home alone, please consider those ones, your loved ones and family members that are home and isolated. Just give them a call. Spend some time with them. Let them know you're thinking about them. It really helps when you're struggling with that isolation.
So true. And while you're home, maybe it's a good time to catch up on some reading. Just saying.
On some reading from the books we mentioned, or listen to the Green Divas archives.
That's right. Check out.
Please do us a favor. If you know somebody that might enjoy this information, send them a link.
Share it up, folks.
Share it up.
Stay green.
Happy 2021.
Happy not 2020.
Bye-bye.
So, what'd you think?
Let us know.
And in the meantime, follow our YouTube channel. Follow the Green Divas on Instagram, Facebook, all the usual social media hangouts. And now you can ask your smart speaker to play the Green Divas podcast.
And I have a favor. Please share this with your friends. Thanks in advance.